Space Force. You applied to join the Space Force. What were you thinking? Why was that important to you?
I needed a new challenge.
You went from being an enlisted officer. I'm assuming then you were a combat medic.
I think it's important to ask ourselves one question: who am I?
Is there a difference between leading by example and proving people wrong?
They are completely different, right?
What an honor. What an honor.
Even you may not know how much work it might take to achieve what you want, but you need to have a vision. When you have the vision, latch onto that one. And after that, you need to start planning, right? You need to have goals, objectives, start planning, right? But one of the most important thing really is the consistency. You have to keep doing the work, right? So, because if you don't do the work, you won't get results. So while you're doing the work, that's where you will start facing challenges. And every time you face those challenges, you have to tell yourself that these are the challenges I need to overcome to get to where I'm going to.
We believe your story would inspire a lot of immigrants across the globe to be able to get to a point where their impact can be felt generations to come. So, if we can go back to Nigeria, your home country, walk us through as an immigrant, what inspired you to become an immigrant, why America, and how did you find yourself to first make the choice to join the US military?
Thank you, Martin. So the way I always tell my story about why America, why the United States for me, I think, and this is the same for many African kids, we grew up exposed to all things Hollywood, America,
Mhm.
and we find ourselves in situations that once we're old enough to understand that it could be better, we don't have to stay in that, situation. It's a really bad situation where, having a mother that's constantly abused, and then you as a child not even sure of your security, and and when anything can happen anytime, and you can go to bed today, and tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yes, of course.
Um, just starvation, and you barely get the right education. So those bad things. I'm not saying that those are justification to leave where we come from. But I think the motivation for me personally, was my mom, what she was going through, and the things are envisioned for myself and my family.
Mhm.
And I was very realistic at a very young age. I think I was 7 years old, and I think it was implanted. I implanted that within me that I would do whatever it takes to provide the life that I envisioned for my family, no matter what. I was going to do the work, and that was how it started. I finished my primary school, my high school, uh, my doctorate degree. I became a veterinary surgeon, and then that was how I started traveling. I went to Europe, did research, went back. Eventually, I secured a part scholarship. Like part scholarships come down to the US for a graduate program. And that's
Yes.
why I came here, really, as a student. So I was a student here, and at the end of that program, I knew I wanted to be in the military, but I couldn't commission because I didn't have citizenship.
Yes.
So, yeah, so with my permanent residency after I got married, I enlisted in the Navy. Now, I could have chosen to just practice as a veterinarian in the US because, I started writing my board exams while I was in grad school. But I tried, and I just knew that I wasn't fulfilled. I was looking for fulfillment. At the same time, I was thinking about my family in Nigeria that I wanted to bring to the US. And the military was just the perfect fit for me. Number one, internal fulfillment. I think I was going to find what I was looking for, which was something bigger than me. I wanted to be able to touch people's lives, just beyond my immediate family. You know, um, I I want to have complete control of the things that we have to go through.
Right.
So that was the number one drive. The second drive was, what, I can, in the military, you can naturalize quickly, and then I could fight for my family.
Oh,
But,
I understand what you mean when you say that. Go ahead.
Yes, so the military, they naturalized me when I was in boot camp, and when I came out, I could fight for my mom to come down, and so the military provided that also the opportunity,
Mhm.
and so the flexibility, and but more importantly, I think it was a fulfillment, and that I took the risk to do that. But during my first tour in the Navy, it was just what I was looking for, you know. And that's how my journey started in the military, and I've been so drawn and committed, and sometimes I try to research deep why, why do I enjoy doing what I'm doing? Why am I still and I think the simple answer is that the things I was looking for as a child, the I want to be able to protect my family, keep them safe. I may finally able to do that, in the in a big in a bigger environment, given an opportunity that's way beyond what I ever imagined,
Right.
you know. So every single moment, every single time I spend within the Department of Defense, I know I'm not only defending this country, but I'm also defending. I'm able to fulfill my heart desires for my family here in the U.S. now. So that's how I got here, pretty much.
Let me go back to something you say that is really interesting for me, and I believe is going to be really impactful to a lot of immigrants who are listening to our conversation. You talked about abuse as a child and witnessing abuse, either from other family members to other family members that were close to me, probably father to mother, and you, I would assume, felt helpless as a child, and you wanted to put yourself in a place where you could do something about it. So, how did you build tenacity as a child to be able to overcome the emotional toil of struggling with whoever is causing abuse? And how would you encourage immigrant parents so that they can eliminate that type of physical, mental, spiritual abuse from their family structure, and so that they can support their immigrants' children to be able to become successful in life?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So for me, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was 7 years old, one morning, I heard a noise. It wasn't the first time I would hear the, that particular noise. It was very familiar, and that was my dad beating up my mom. Um, and it happened a few times when I would walk to my mom's room in the morning, and but that very day, I still remember I was 7 years old, and her face was really bruised. She had a large laceration on her face, and talk about being helpless. There was nothing I could do about it. But I remember holding my mom very tight, very close, and when I pulled away from her, I promised her that I'm going to become a doctor one day, and I'm going to become an American citizen, and I will take us away from everything here, all these bad things going on here. I made that promise to her that day. Um, and it's funny that, a child can say something and it just won't go away. And that never left me, never left my heart. So I, I put all my frustration. I think one of the reasons why I think I got really good academically and I didn't know I was that good was because all my frustration was I put all of that in my schoolwork. I didn't go to a great school, so it was very rough to do well, nationally. So, uh, but I think when I was in college, pre-med and then med school, and I was broke, I was no money to pay tuition. There are times when I had to go work. You can't be med school and work at the same time, but I did to pay my tuition. And the times, so it never even occurred to me that to give up or drop out. I think I would have probably died of starvation before I dropped out of school, because I knew that was my ticket out of, that situation. So for me, I think it was that helplessness, that the frustration, and that uh, I poured all of that into one thing that could get me out of it, and that was education. And that was what I understood as a child. Now for parents, I think our parents, it's a generational thing. If your parents are raised in a certain way, that's how they think you raise kids. corporal punishments, beating up your wife, marrying multiple wives, um, drinking heavily, and or having personal issues coming home and pouring that frustration on your family. Um, that goes around. It happens here too in the U.S., right? And even the entire world, I think it's worldwide. Naturally, when people experience things, there's high tendency that they will probably do the same thing.
Hmm.
So again, it's a generational thing. I remember when my grandma used to tell my dad when he used to get my we just we would make little mistakes and it's like picking us off, and my grandma would tell him that you're very lucky to have good sons, because if your sons were half as bad as you were as a child, you would have probably killed them. Your kids made up their minds to be different. So you need to be thankful they have great kids. And I think that's what happened. I grew up and made a promise to myself that I was going to take the best things about my dad and everything I hated about him, I was going to stay away from it completely. I do not want to build the same thing in the future.
Yes.
Uh, Both of us know we can't get rid of that completely. I'm a grown man now. I have my own family, and sometimes things will happen at home. If you think about it, like, huh, did I just do something? Like, did I just yell about something, or did I, and then it comes to your mind that ah, that's exactly
What my
that's
parents had to do.
the reason why I'm here today, because
Yes.
I promised myself that will not happen.
Right.
So it's a reminder to not be that way. But you know, think about it. Our parents too were probably helpless, and they
It's what they
grew
knew
up.
better.
That's what they knew, and they didn't think that was the way out. They went through that, and it became the norm.
Yeah. So, do you think abuse in household or in any community is a cultural thing, or it's a lack of educational awareness for what is the right way for either corrective action or discipline?
I think the problem is trying to find a fine line between um, ensuring discipline, maintaining discipline in your household, right, and um, I think in inculcating your cultural values in your kids. So there's cultural values which, if you want to train your kids, you want kids to imbibe, they have to see it happen, and then it becomes a repetitive thing, right? It's like an environmental influence.
Yes.
It
Yes.
starts yeah, things they observe, and it becomes the norm. So sometimes you don't beat it into children's heads, right? You don't tell them if you don't wear that clothes, or if you don't wake up and go to the farm at 7 o'clock, you're in trouble. The kids will see what you're doing, it becomes what they understand. But on the other front, ensuring discipline and providing an environment for that, it's very tricky. The things that we didn't like as children are the reasons why some of us are probably better off today. Think about it.
Mhm. Yes.
There were things I probably didn't do as a child because I knew my dad was going to probably beat me for doing those things.
Yes.
But if I knew he wasn't going to touch me and not talk about it, I probably would have done indulge in things that would probably not help me get to where I am today.
Of course.
So there's a fine line there. So there's some cultural value in your cultures that allow corporal punishments. In the US here, that's not allowed. You can't physically, pound on kids and do things like that.
Yes.
So that's where there's a fine line there. I think what our parents, where we come from, could learn from.
Dr.
You know,
Ione,
uh,
let me just jump in if you don't mind. Do you think there's a place in any society across the globe for corporal punishment when it comes to the family structure? And I'm
Personally,
asking that question because you're from Nigeria, and Nigeria has a huge population that is of Islamic faith. And
yeah,
with the same token, Christian faith. And I want to believe a multicultural, cultural influence type of religious beliefs.
yeah.
Okay, so
So
that being said, does corporal punishment have a place in society, especially when it comes to the household?
You know, again, that's a very sensitive topic, and it's very sensitive because you have to consider cultural perspectives
Yes.
in instances like that. Personally, I didn't like it. You know, I didn't like it. I hated it. I
Hmm.
didn't. I didn't like being flogged for every little thing. I didn't like being treated like an animal. I didn't like. I didn't like anyone touching my mom. You know, like I can't imagine anyone random person touching my wife. You know, like physically doing. You know, hitting my wife. You know, or someone getting like koboko, things that they use
Yes.
back then.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
On the kids. Yeah, on the kids. You know, and I've got to that point where now it's not the same like when I was growing up. But then you can't go to a place like Nigeria or maybe like Middle East, some countries where it's part of that culture. That's how they believe that's part of disciplining their children, right? So you have to be careful when you go there and tell them, that oh no, you can't do that. You can't touch the kids. You can't do. You can speak for your values where you are, right? Your household values, and then here in America, what the values are, and then outside the values, what the rules are, here. There are boundaries, to what you can do to another person, and then consequences for those actions. You're talking about places where there aren't consequences like that. You understand what I mean? So, and so I think that's what would define, you know, if there's a place for cultural values or not, the recognition within your personal, you as a person, in your household, how you address something like that, and how your community, your society view something like that. If your society views such things as not having a place, they will put rules in place as well to kind of, you know, reinforce uh, people from going overboard and doing things like that to kids and to especially to women, yeah, and children, so yeah, it's a very sensitive topic. There's no clear cut answer to that.
I asked that question because earlier today I was speaking to an immigrant that was born in Afghanistan and migrated to the US. And part of our conversation was the recognition of violence within the family structure. And so, like you, he realizes that there's two ways you can look at it. There is where you can take all that pain and use it to become a better person, and there is understanding that it may be a cultural thing in the society that you live in, and so you have to figure out how to respect their cultural beliefs.
That's right.
When I was growing up, watching abuse in my household was not easy, and at some point I had to put myself between my mom and dad and actually make a declaration that he was to never do that again. I am glad I did, and
Mm.
I did it out of, like you, my personal consciousness, but it did not happen sooner because I grew up hearing women screaming across the walls. And it seemed like it was a normal thing for husbands to beat down their wives. Only to realize that there was a pain that was growing within me and many other people that I know that was speaking to our hearts and was saying this was wrong.
Yes.
And so, as immigrants, we have a responsibility in whatever we go across the country to first realize the culture of the other people and respect that, but two, learn to produce the best value so that we can use those values to raise our children to become better human beings.
And I think, again, I believe in showing by doing. When you do things, people
Hmm.
say it. And I'll give you another example. So, let's say I remember when my daughter was little, we went to church, and she had been, sort of loud all day in church, just crying, making noise, and I'm trying to understand what the problem was, and I just didn't understand what it was, and just like, what do you need? What do you want? And the kid was just crying, and I just couldn't figure it out. I got frustrated, walked away. My wife came and she couldn't figure it out. And then one of my friends, I was in the Navy then, one of my friends walked over. He had girls before, like grown up kids. So he had been through that, and that was our first child, right? So
Yes.
he came
It's
over.
learning curve.
He
Keep
came
going.
over, and then he sat her down next to him, and then talked to her. And it was amazing how she went from crying to nodding her head, you know. And then it wasn't that that's my child, and I love her, she loves me, and there's an understanding between us, right? But
Hmm.
there was just one isolated incident that I could have handled differently instead of, I was frustrated, I didn't know how to deal with it, and I was just like, well, I'll just go home, buy you ice cream, and I'll see if that fix it, right? You know, the kids didn't want anything. The kid didn't want anything, and the kid just was just crying, wanted attention, wanted to be held and hugged and talked to. Like, leave everyone alone, come talk to me, pretty much. The attention. And the
Hmm.
difference there was that he showed me something. If I have a certain belief of handling a situation like that in a certain way, let's say in a place like back home in Africa, right?
Yes.
Let's imagine my relative, the older, and being unruly in a religious setting, right?
Hmm.
Not even your parents, anyone would pull you aside and give you some spanking. You will get flogged for that, because it's disrespectful in that culture. You understand? Now imagine someone like my friend instead pulls that person aside and talk to that little kid. Let's say a teenager, right? Talk to that teenager. And then from that moment forward, right, that teenager started behaving with respect because that teenager understood what that person explained to her instead of that initial emotional response. So I think what our culture will benefit from is that the culture is there. There are things, it's only in Africa, like you said, Middle East is there. There are so many other countries, even here in the US. A lot of them are just hidden. You don't know, I think just observing how other people would handle situations like that, they're not going to tell you what to do. They will just do it the way they understood how to do it, and then you can learn from that. So I think that opportunity to learn from other people that have more experience or um, different kind of temperament to handle situations like that, would help. For example, my dad. When I just watching my dad before he passed away, he wasn't the same as emotional as he was when I was. So when I was in primary school, right, and in secondary school, and then when I was in college, his level of um, uh, temperament, I will say his level of aggression, right, or violence slowly decreased, you know. And as I got older, I started earning his respect because he knew I had my eyes set on something. He knew this boy is up to something and he's not going to give up.
Yes.
After that, I earned his respect in one way or the other, so that my dad would have probably killed me for drinking alcohol. I remember I came home my second year of pre-med and he was like, "Hey, come have drink with me." He gave me a bottle of beer. beer. It would kill a kid if anyone of us try that, it would literally like beat you to, So those are some of the things that I think. There's so many influences, but I think the best way to teach people is by leading by example. Just do it, let them see it. And then you see how they will remember that every time they have the opportunity to do better.
Is there a difference between leading by example and proving people wrong? Or it's one and the same thing?
Yes. They are completely different, right? So we said it's proving people wrong, right? Leading by example is a difference between leading by example and proving people wrong, right? So when you prove people wrong, you're already um, judging them, right?
Mhm.
No one likes to be judged. No one
Okay.
likes to be told they are inferior to someone else, and no one likes to be told that they are not as mature as the other person. I think people admire others when, even if they know they're doing something wrong,
Hmm.
and the person is not. confrontational about it, if it's not you know, uh, a life or death situation, you know, but instead you do something that shows that there's there's another level to this, another level of understanding that you aren't aware of. And as soon as you understand that you're not aware of that level of understanding or behavior or handling pressure, it clicks in you that, man, I have to do better. Instead, if the person just come like, man, dude, that's terrible. Don't do stuff like that. That's me. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's like, who are you to tell me what to do? Especially Americans. Americans don't like you telling them what to do. I can tell you that.
But that has
No,
gotten us Americans very far. That ignorance is not necessarily too bad.
no. You
Go ahead.
can't.
Right,
What you
right,
can do. What you can do is you know, just lead. Just people, believe it or not, we all have opportunity. Different opportunities to lead. It depends on where we find ourselves. And I remember the first time I was in a birthday party in the Pentagon in our office space, and so we celebrated a birthday party for everyone who had a birthday party. And there's a way we used to sing birthday song in Nigeria, right? So you finish the happy birthday song, and then you say, "We wish you many happy returns of the day,
come on, man.
long life and
You
prosperity."
cannot go there and think you're gonna get away with it. Let's go, let's go. Sing the song. Come on.
Like at the end of this song, it's like, yeah, we wish you many happy returns of the day, long life and prosperity. Hip hip hip, hooray! Right? That's
Right?
not a thing we do in the U.S.
Of
We sing
course.
the birthday songs at the end of it's like, yeah. So the first time, I didn't tell people, oh, you're doing it wrong. There's a part of birthday song you're missing. I just let them finish, and then I continued with my
Right,
part.
right,
So they all stopped. They started looking at me and started laughing so hard. But at the end, when I said hip hip hip, they all joined. Hooray!
right. Yep, yep.
So every subsequent birthday, like if the next two ones, at the end of the song, they all turned to me like, and then at the end they say hip hip hip, and then after like the fourth birthday, after that, everyone started singing the same thing.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
that's a simple example, but it speaks volume to how human beings are human beings. Uh, if you give them the opportunity if you take advantage of on any opportunity to lead, I think some people will connect and they will learn from it.
You've walked us through a really important lesson there, and that's called the learning curve. Where something happens, and then you slowly start seeing a change to get to the end goal. When
Yes.
you were 7, you had that learning experience where you made a decision and you looked at your mom and you said, I was going to keep this promise, although I don't know how to get to it. If you're speaking to immigrant children or their parents, what would you encourage them to learn from their experiences so that they can take that joy or pain or suffering or grace and use that as a tool to allow them to become a powerhouse in life?
Mm. So it will sound cliche, when you look at people and study immigrants like me, and students that started here like me, or kids outside the US that are going through what I went through or even worse. I think it sounds cliche when you tell them, don't give up, keep striving, keep working hard, you get what I'm saying? But the best way I can put it is that our lives, a life without challenges, is not a life.
It's very boring, I agree.
Yes, it's the challenges we face that makes our lives meaningful. And as we overcome them, we get better.
Yes.
And then we have more confidence of the strength we have within us to overcome.
Mhm.
So when those challenges come to you, you make up your mind, or something that you know that you could be better, and Even you may not know how much work it might take to achieve what you want, but you need to have a vision.
Mhm.
When you have the vision, you have to latch onto that one, and after that, create. You need to start planning, right? You need to have goals, objectives. Start planning, right? But one of the most important thing really is the consistency. You have to keep doing the work,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So because if you don't do the work, you won't get results. So while you're doing the work, that's where you will start facing challenges. And every time you face those challenges, you have to tell yourself that these are the challenges I need to overcome to get
Mhm.
to where I'm going to.
Yes.
That's even if you get there. We don't really get to where we're going to. We achieve what we want to achieve and then we set new goals naturally, right?
Yes. Yes.
My goal then was get my mom out of Nigeria, come to US, build a new life. But guess what? As soon as my mom got here, I
The
realized,
world
oh,
changed.
I could have bigger dreams. I could do something bigger and better.
I wanted to join the Space Force. How about that?
Right?
Right?
Just start applying.
Yeah. But go ahead.
So that would be what I would tell them, that you're where you are for a reason. And there's a plan for you. They have to go through a journey that's for you, and that's a journey that will that will bring out the best of the best in you. So everything you go through, they might be painful, they might hurt, they might be sad sometimes, and you might be really happy sometimes. Embrace all of it,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because in the future you have a story to tell. So, but you need to have a vision. You need to have a goal. You need to know what you're looking for first. If you don't know where you're going, then you're like an ocean, like water, just moving around without a destination.
Oh my goodness, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My friend Brian Tracy talks about in life you're in shit, you're about to go into shit, or you're coming out of shit. And that's an analogy for what life is all about, right? That there will
Yes.
always be trials and tribulations. However, as long as you have a goal and you have a vision, those trials and tribulations, like you said, is what you're using as a force to drive you to go to your destination or to go to get to the things you want.
Yes.
How, as an immigrant, did goal setting drive you? When did you learn to start setting goals? How have you used goals, and how do you intend to use them in the future?
Okay. So, like when I was little, clearly I knew what my dreams were. Here's my dream. I want to do this. I want to do that. But I was also limited in the sense of what how much control do I have? I was just a child.
Yes.
But as soon as I got into college, I started carrying around a little paper in my wallet. And in that paper, I used to write my 5-year plan and 10-year plan. Like in 5 years, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. In 10 years, this is where I want to be. When I turn 35 years, I want to have achieved all these things. And I updated that consistently. I still do that today. I carry like a little wallet now, and I still have a 5-year plan and a
Hmm.
10-year plan.
Hmm.
You know, so but what you find out is that a lot of times, though, the things you won't achieve the things you set to achieve when you want when you want to achieve
Why
them.
do I know where you're going with this conversation?
You won't.
Right?
And and a lot of things that you set to achieve at a certain time, they'll be so discouraging and frustrating, and you will feel so much that you wonder if you ever had to, if you needed to have dreamt about something like that, you
Right.
know. And those are the tests you will fail because. But here's the thing: you we have to fail. We fail sometimes, and you will fail because you need to be veered in the right direction. you know Without those failures, sometimes we can embark on things so we can start doing well, and in the end it might crash. But those challenges sometimes just would show us that, you know what, That's your plan. That's what you're trying to do. And then things that are happening are just trying to get you somewhere that you should be instead of that and where you're headed. Because that's what you're thinking, but that's probably not what you need. But that's what you want, right?
Right,
And
right.
in the end you realize, okay, wow, that's what I really need. So what I was chasing after before was just a want. And by the way, that was narrow-minded of me to have thought that that was what I needed. What would make my life better. So, so in essence, the point is it's okay to fail, right?
Hmm.
You can set the goals. It's okay to fail. Uh, Failures are only lessons. You will learn from them and
Yeah.
use the failures to get better, to do things differently. And every goal you set, if it doesn't happen, fine. Change course. Use the lessons you've learned, and then change course. Just don't do uh, things the same way and expect a different result. You have to understand. In the military, we call it we call it outbriefing, right? Because you have to outbrief what happened.
Yes.
And then so after outbrief, you need to find what's the root cause of the problem. What could I have done better? How would I change that in the future?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You need
Um,
to apply that to our lives exactly. You know.
yes. Yes.
So yeah, I hope I answered your question properly. Well,
you,
but
you did. So, which leads me to the next question, which is Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. What prompted you to write the book? Why is the book important, and how does it help immigrants see the possibility of tomorrow?
yeah, so Underground wasn't supposed to be a book. Uh, when we had my daughter, uh, I wanted to have a record because I'm the first to come down here from my family,
Hmm.
you know, and then my mom came over, and then my sibling. So, and I wanted to have a record of how we got here, how our journey in the United States started. I want my kids, and the way I envisioned it when we had our daughter was as if my daughter's children may not look anything like me,
Hmm.
because I don't know who she's gonna get married to.
Of
You
course.
know, she might get married to someone from Australia or something. They won't look anything like me. So imagine, think of my great grandchildren. They may not, you might not see any inkling of blackness in them to start with, or African, or anything African, lineage, just by physically looking at them. But I have to leave something behind for them, uh, as a record I can go back to and know their story, and I know how their journey started in the US, and
Hmm.
how, how they can take uh, their lives for granted, how they have to understand that uh, they are started there in a better place from where things started, and they have to absolutely take advantage of the privilege. Now, I didn't start it. I thought about it. And then when we had our son, I keep saying my, when we had my son,
Hmm.
uh, my wife heard that I've been in trouble. So
Yeah, you've lived in
after,
America for a while, I can tell. Yeah. You're still working on that
yeah,
African pride of the man saying, my son, my son. It's a work in progress, sir.
it's
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Uh,
You know, he arrived in 2013, and that was when I picked up the pen and paper and started writing. And I remember when I finished, when I thought I had finished. My wife, and then I had uh, the courage to give it to my wife to read. So my wife read it, and halfway, she was just tearing up. She was crying, and she told me, "I can't believe you went through all of this and remained sane and didn't give up, and you came this far. I said, I'm your wife, and there's so many things here that I never imagined in a million years that you actually experienced. I mean, I told her a few things, but
mhm.
you can't tell. no matter how close you are to people, you can't tell people exactly, you can't tell people everything, right? And you
Yes,
can't take them to the depth uh, you know, uh, of your experience unless you write them in a way that they can vividly understand and what you went through. So she said you absolutely have to publish this, and I was like, publish, like, as it's not written for publication, like you have to write it for publication because a lot of immigrants need to read this. It will. So number one, the message, that you can set your heart to achieve something, to make something of your life, and you can absolutely achieve it, no matter the challenges, no matter where you come from. You can come from the poorest village anywhere in the world and become anything you set your heart to become. So that's
definitely.
just to that. So number two, when you came to the United States, you faced a lot of challenges. They said the immigrants and a lot of people need to understand that humility is important in life. You humbled yourself, even as a doctor,
Mhm.
you enlisted in the Navy, you know, because even my wife didn't understand the idea of me enlisting when I joined the Navy. She just couldn't comprehend it. If she didn't love me that much, I don't think she would have stayed with me when I decided. Because I remember I went for my last residency interview in the US
Uh,
because I had to, yeah. And then I came and said, I'm joining the military, And she said, are you okay? I said, like, you're a doctor. Like, yeah, so what? Uh, at that moment, I knew I wasn't going to wait. I'm just going to do what I heard. I don't want to have regret when I'm 70 years old. So,
yes,
the humility to know what it takes to think about other people, not just yourself.
Mhm.
And sometimes make the sacrifices you have to make, to bring people along. And then three, like to not think about yourself. I talk about that selflessness. Uh, not don't think about yourself. Think about other people. Pay it forward, just so that maybe those people might pay it forward as well. So, but the entire theme of the book really is in the title, right? It's a book of hope, faith, primarily. You know, um, the Bible, has the best explanation for those two words, in my opinion.
okay.
So uh, no matter how, I think if I rewind my life to when just being a child sitting somewhere in Ejigbo, where I grew up in Lagos, on tired roads, just clay sand everywhere, muddy, and just thinking about for how long am I going to be here? How am I really going to change things? Can I change things? You know, from there to I work in the Pentagon. You know,
That's incredible. Just
you
you
know,
saying I work in the Pentagon. That is incredible.
it, you understand.
Yes,
And that's where you have to tell yourself you can't lose hope. The difference there was the hope when I was living that nothing can stop me. I can do it. I don't have a proof, you know, but I can do it. And then the faith. I mean, I understood faith, and I think I practiced faith long before I became a Christian.
hmm,
You know, the readings in the Bible just solidified that for me. I had always been a child that believed that if I set my heart to achieve something, I'm gonna work myself out to achieve it. And the only reason why I kept doing that was because I believed that thing would happen.
that belief is faith.
That's faith. If you have faith that you can say to the mountain, be casted to the sea, and you say it and you believe in your heart that that will happen. You know.
Earlier, you talked about consistency,
Yes.
and you said you have to be consistent to get the things or to get to the place you want to go. These little nuggets of success you've learned over time. Did you have somebody who inspired you so you'd listen to their teachings and follow them? Or did they just come to you naturally because of the source of your pain?
I'm a believer in being influenced by people around me that I surround myself with, and people, and I believe that I influence people too by the way I conduct myself. And to answer a question about if there have been people, in essence, you're asking if I had mentors, right?
Yes, yes.
People that guided me and things like that. Uh, I'll be honest with you that mentors have played an important role in my maturity, understanding how the options, the pathways to get into where I want to get to.
Hmm.
And those mentors come in different ages, even kids, race, I've got different races, right? It don't
Hmm.
matter what your race is, and backgrounds.
Yes.
So, and I'll tell you, so, and it's hard for me to nail down one mentor. I have so many mentors. There's some mentors
Yes.
I don't talk to anymore. When I was in the Navy, there were some people that just believed in me. They saw my record and they wondered, how on earth are you an enlisted corpsman in the Navy?
Hmm.
You should be a doctor here. It might be that, and I hid everything about me when I was in the Navy. I didn't want people to know anything about me.
Right.
But then I'll see a random senior official would just pull me aside and task me with something that they believed I could actually do. That was way, beyond what my rank at the time.
Hmm.
That's mentorship. That person didn't have to tell me I'm your mentor, right? Are you, but they understood my capability and my talents, my skills, and they wanted to give me an opportunity to shine. Because after all, it's the work that you do that will probably get you for, you know what I'm saying? So that's
Yes.
in the Navy, in the Air Force, right? So it's like, you're a doctor, why are you a nuke officer here? So that might strike some curiosity about some people, like, okay, are you
You
considering
start
doctor?
curiosity on us.
Exactly, so, and I embrace all of that. And even today, but what I've learned though is that what actually gets you to where you're going, you mentioned it, and that consistency. You can have all the hope in the world, all the strength in the world. Without work, it's dead. Nothing will happen. You have to do the
Yes.
work.
Hmm.
So it's the work really that has gotten me so far, but I wouldn't get as far without all those people that have been there for me, my mentors, right? Some
Yes.
people that even know they were my mentors, but that was the role they filled in my life, they're like, what do you want to do next? And it's, well, here's what I'm thinking, and here are the things I've done so far. It's like, you know what? That's a brilliant idea, but how about you make your option B, option A, make your option A, option C. But that's because I already had something to show them, because I had a plan. But then what they tell me just make the difference, and I get results.
Yes.
So it's a combination of you yourself. You have to be ready, so that when people show up, to help you, to guide you, you
You're
can
ready.
get results.
Yes.
Exactly.
Dr. Ayede, I have to ask you a question that most
Yeah.
immigrants struggle with. You migrate to a different country, and the reason you left is because things were not working out in your motherland. And
Yes.
you get to this one country, and you have the burden of all the other issues that you were gonna go back home and fix. The only way you can fix those things is one, financial. So how do you blend the two? Your dreams and your visions, the work ethic it takes to get to them, yet at the same time satisfy the burden you left behind of taking care of your other family members.
Y- that's a very, very complicated topic. You know, um, I'm from Nigeria. I knew how Nigeria was when I left.
Mhm.
I knew the situation my family was in. And today, I won't say I'm as smart on what's going on in Nigeria, but I have pretty good knowledge of how worse things have gotten so far,
Yes.
from when I left. And every time I try to find a difference between then, I thought things were bad then. Now think about now, people living there, you know. even my family members, right? Extended family members, right?
Hmm.
The difference is the way, the mentality of not just the government, but of the people that has been shaped over the course of those years. And what shaped that was the things they have been subjected to. It's hard to point finger, and you can't change anything unless you start by changing the mentality of people. In our Nigeria, you can point to 10 different things: corruption, you know, um, I don't know, selfishness, and a whole bunch of things, right? Yeah,
Yes.
those problems are there. I'll use myself as an example. Can I go to Nigeria today and just make a difference? Boom, hey, here I am. I'm in Nigeria. I'm going to change everything. It all can get better. No, it doesn't work that way. And
Yes.
money, you're right. Money is one of the important tools you need, right?
Hmm.
But not just money.
Yes.
What, and I speak for, and this is the same for a lot of countries, I think it's leadership. What makes a difference is leadership. Anywhere you go in life, any setting, any environment, any workspace, watch how what the leader does trickle down to the last person in that environment. If what happens where you are is a reflection of your leadership. In your household, what's going on is a reflection of your leadership. You can say your kids might decide to go to things their own way or things like that, but you have to own it. If you're the head of that family, whatever happens, it's your responsibility. It's the same thing for all of our countries, all the especially developing nations going through the things. Like the way I used to think, I'm not gonna lie to you, there were days I sat down as a child and I'll just cry. If you ask me why I was crying, because I'm probably seeing a 6-year-old kid going around with stuff on the head, just selling stuff while they should be
Yeah.
in school.
Yes.
Like little things that, and people, and it's shocked me even as a child that the grown-ups around me didn't care about it. It didn't make any difference to them.
They were callous.
Mentality.
Yes.
So it's not one person. It takes, what I say, it takes a village to raise a child, like they used to say in that saying, but for a country to change, it takes the entire country, but it takes the right kind of leadership. And for you to have the right kind of leadership, people have to be ready for that type of leadership. And then you as that person, it's a blend of different things. You gotta have the right people around you. You have the right support, have the right support system. You gotta have the right security. Money is good. It will get you far, but that's not all of it. But most importantly, the people have to be ready. And I'm not saying that, like Nigeria, where I come from, people aren't ready. There are a lot of smart Nigerians in entire, like everywhere around the world. And then you go home, there are a lot of people too there. But the question is, why are things the way they are? Leadership. Leadership is very important. Maybe leaders back in Nigeria can start with at least owning what's going on first, hold themselves accountable, and that would be a good start. But for me, for example, if I were put in a position in Nigeria, do I know what to do? I know exactly how to start. But am I thinking of going back home to do that right now? No. Do I have the resources to do it? I don't think so. But in life, there's timing though. When the right time comes, and time comes when I think anyone, not just me, it could be anyone, any Nigerian or anyone from Nigerian heritage, is ready. It could be a mixed child from the US. They're just like, I want to go back to where my father comes from and I want to make a change. And the timing will just be right. And the example I'll give you to support this answer quickly. So this year was my second time of going to Tanzania on a mission trip with my church. And I've had friends when I posted things about Tanzania and how wonderful the mission of the nonprofit I that we went to work to do things with, right? It's like, why don't you think of doing something like this in Nigeria? That's the first question they ask you. Why you're doing this? Where you come from? So they need the same support and everything. I was like, that's a good question, but how do you know that I'm not doing something? Is it so bad that it, that I don't see enough change for me to brag about, or is it that I don't have to talk about it, or is it that I have to be there physically to make that change? But the truth is, the difference between me able to go to where I've been to in Tanzania physically to do something, right? And physically go back to Nigeria to do something, that you got to think about what's the difference. Is it security? Is it financial? Is it the people? You got to ask those questions, you
Of
know?
course, of course. As an immigrant, what are some of the lessons you're learning in a place like Tanzania when you go to a mission that you're bringing back to America as an immigrant, and you're using those lessons to bring value to your community?
The lessons I learned from Tanzania, right? From going on a mission trip. So, a lot. I started because you know, the kids and the situation, um, I was familiar with it. I grew up just like the kids that I go over there to. I've seen myself in those kids up to today. I connect with their struggles. Uh, but the lessons, though, is that experience going back there, knowing where I came from to where I am, and then going back to do that, even though it may not be in Nigeria where I come from. Who says it's got to be in Nigeria?
Yes.
Nigeria is not the only place with problems. I could go. I mean, no, I didn't only go to Tanzania. I went to Kenya before going to Tanzania. By the way, you know, it humbles you. You know, it humbles you. It keeps you grounded. In fact, imagine me taking my kids on those trips,
Excuse me. Hmm.
right? It shows them another dimension to what life can be like. And I think primarily the lessons coming back is number one, how, if you're blessed with things in life, you're comfortable, you have
Resources.
security, you have all of those things.
Hmm.
It might just be, um, it's a good thing to think of people that don't have that, right? And then not only thinking about it, actually taking the step to go try to change where you think that um, uh, where you can make an impact, especially if the people in question are ready for that change. You understand?
Hmm.
So, and I think and this is something I enjoy doing. When every year when I come back, it keeps me grounded personally. I
Hmm.
share the stories with people, with my family, with friends. Even a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, how was this trip this year?" Because they knew I was going to go on a trip, on a mission trip. So they you know and what that has done for other people is that they think about it now that, oh, I can actually be in this position, I can be so busy all year round, but I can actually make time to go do this as well,
Yes.
you know
Give
and
back.
possibly take my kids on. So when I say lessons, the lessons there are that, for me personally, the lessons, in staying humble, and knowing that the number one goal at the end of all this, whatever happens, whatever I achieve in life, which it's not like I've achieved a lot. I'm still working. I'm still trying to be better, right? But
Yes.
whatever the accomplishments are, I gotta go back and give back. I gotta pay it forward,
Yes.
and then how does that influence the people around me? Again, leading. I don't want to say, I don't want you to assume that I'm trying to say that I'm leading, but I'm doing that, and some people are seeing that, and they're asking questions, and they want to do the same thing, and then their
Yes.
kids are going to go with them, and their kids are going to tell their friends, and their friends are going to, things like that. Like next year we have students going, not even grown-ups, students going to go do wonderful stuff in Peru, in Tanzania, because of the testimonies. You come back and share the stories with people, you know.
Excellent. Excellent.
So I think it's one of the best things you can do in life, honestly. Just pay it forward.
Dr. Ayode, tell our listeners where they can find you on social media and where they can find your book.
Thank you. So on social media, I think the one-stop shop for everything about my book, where to find them, and everything is my website. And my website is www.dejiayodeade.com. So
Excellent.
my
Excellent.
first name, my name, and my last name combined. Yeah, DEJIAYOADE.com. And just navigate around the pages and you will find anything you're looking for. But really, if you
From
just Google book title, you will
Mhm.
find it everywhere.
Okay, very good. So
Barnes and
from
Nobles, Amazon, and
you said your book is in Barnes and Nobles and Amazon too, right?
yeah. So I think once you, if you just type underground Deji Ayodeade on Google, you will see all the outlets that are carrying the book. Target, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books a Million. It's everywhere, really. Honestly, all bookstores are carrying it online. Just you know order wherever. And I think I have about three links on my website, but there are several other stores that are carrying it online.
Okay, very good, very good. So you went from being an enlisted officer. I'm assuming then you were a combat medic, and then from combat medic you became nuclear weapons systems. What was that transition like? And now you're up in space again. How are you using those transitions to develop yourself so that you can continue to dream bigger? And where do you see yourself in the next 10, 15 years?
Good question. I almost feel like I'm sitting in a job interview right now. so, I, so I think it's important to ask ourselves one question: Who am I? What makes me happy? What makes me feel fulfilled? Am I the person that can do one thing for the rest of my life and be happy with it, or am I the person that wants to broaden my perspective and try different things? I fall in a category of someone that I've realized quickly that anything I set my heart to, I can do it really well. And I'm not afraid to start anything, any new thing. I'm good with starting afresh and learning anything. And that's why the transition, although very challenging, very demanding, having to learn, I went from being a veterinary surgeon to, being a combat medic and then going to, you know, and then becoming a nuke officer, those are heavy transitions, right? Uh, and one thing that can help you pull through something like that is to accept who you are and know that you are equipped to deal with all of that. So that when it's time to transition to the next thing, um, just focus and continue, to drive forward. I think it's very important to know what makes you feel fulfilled. I think that's really the core of it. Honest, quite frankly, I want to look back at my life. Like when I get really old, I want to look back and I want to smile and just be happy that I have a good account of my life. Really, I think that's what it is. I want to be 80 years old and I'll be in my dying bed or whenever age I'm, on my dying bed and I'm just happy about how I lived my life. Like I did it all. I tried everything I wanted to do and I did them all. And I was never afraid to take on any opportunity, no matter how small. So a lot of us might think I want to be a doctor, and if that doesn't happen, the life remains still stagnant, right? But I
Yeah.
don't operate that way. I believe that um, everything happens for a reason, and whatever opportunities are, no matter how small they are, they're important. It's the little opportunities that becomes bigger opportunities. And I don't know where those little opportunities are taking me, but as long as I do them really well, I'm ready for the next thing that will happen. Now, in the next 10, 15 years, where do I see myself? Um, I think I see myself as a senior leader in the government, quite frankly. Maybe next 10 years, just um, doing wonderful things and just leading a lot of people, growing a lot of, especially students and young. folks to just be better and make the best of their lives. And then, within our government, just be a senior leader. Maybe in 15 years, I don't know, retire or something, retire and focus on my non-profit and just run my non-profit, travel around the world to developing nations, and just live out my life in places that I could make a change, no matter how small.
Very good, very good. When you applied to join the space force, what were you thinking? Why was that important to you? Um, what were you looking to? What type of impact were you looking to leave behind?
For me, honestly, what drove that was just, what I was doing then. I knew I was good at it. I could do it in my sleep, and I needed a new challenge. And just you see how when you're in school,
Hmm.
you have to take certain classes that we get to a degree. So you know how you're taking classes and eventually you arrive at a degree and something like that, and you keep going to school, you get a master's, PhD, and things. So in the military, within the Department of Defense, we there's a pathway also that you do one thing, and if you want to achieve one something else, then you have to have certain experiences in order to be eligible for different things. And for me, I went to Space Force because I wanted to take on the next uh, challenge that I thought was the biggest challenge at the time, and I prayed about it and I put in for it and I got it. I mean, most people won't do what I did. My my leadership joked about it that no one would do what he just did. No one would take on will make a move like that. No one wants to do it, but then if you want to really do things, you really want to go far and really lead and do things, it's required. You have to do it. You know.
Yes, yes.
And for me, I didn't even think twice about it. It was just the right thing. The next thing for me to do, Space Force had the opportunity for me to do that. I went for it, and it was just, quite frankly, it was just God that I got the opportunity, and and I don't regret at all. I'm thankful for it, and we did something good.
As an immigrant in America, have been some of the challenges you've had to overcome? That looking back, you're thinking most immigrants are going to go through these challenges, and this is where they may find themselves.
A lot. I'm sure you've experienced them yourself too. I don't want to mention the obvious first, but I think the first, some of the few challenges. Let's start with you understanding that you're in a different country. If you're not born and raised here, you have to respect the fact that you're in a place that already has a different way of living. You
Yes,
know, you have to respect that, and you have to adapt. I'm not saying you should change your accent because you want to sound like an average American or someone from the South or Northeast, but adapt. You have to integrate. You know,
hmm,
and you have to be committed to betterment of that of where you find where you live, where you are. Now the next challenge is that things will not happen quickly like you probably imagined before you came down to the US. Things won't be as easy as you thought. You face challenges, those are normal. If you don't take shortcuts, you will you will work really hard, but you get results. And that's one blessing we have in this country. You know, it's not like you keep doing things and nothing will happen. Something will happen eventually. It may not be exactly what you're looking for, but
yes.
something good will happen. You just have to know that something good happened, and you have to acknowledge it, and then you keep pressing forward. So you will face challenges with racism. Some people will tell it to your face that you're not good enough. Some people will tell you the way you sound just you might be qualified, but because of the way you sound, you're not. They can't they can't give
You're not
you an
qualified.
opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's some people who won't like the way you sound. Some people won't like the way you look. That's okay. You need to be prepared for that. My first experience was um, when I was working at CVS. I was still a grad student at the time, and this woman came to pick up a medication, and she called me an African monkey. I remember I was trying to help her fill her prescription. I was trying to help her. She said she called me an African monkey, and still drove away. I was like, why made I say something like that? She told me because you people come here and take our jobs away from our kids. That was what she said. And I told her, you think I came to the US to become a pharmacy tech? I said, ma'am, I'm just passing through. What she didn't even know was that I had a medical degree. One, she didn't know I had, I was in grad school. She didn't know, I was taking board exams. I was going through that to get to the next thing I wanted to do. All she thought was, this guy came from Africa and took a job from CVS, from one of their sons, whatever. I don't know. I took an opportunity away. So you face things, random things like that, but don't ever let things like that deter you. One door closes, another one opens. That door closed because it's not meant for you. There's a different door waiting for you to knock at it. You have to keep knocking. You have to keep knocking until the one that's meant for you opens up. So, uh, that's and and again, the way we sound. When I was growing up in Nigeria, we spoke English differently, and we sound differently. And here you come to the US, and the choice of words are different. So you can't let things like that intimidate you. Just be yourself.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, and so challenges, yes. Financially, you might have to do jobs you don't like at first.
Yes.
You know, I worked in a butcher shop. I worked at CVS. I worked uh, at Petco. I worked when I was in grad school. I did also, and then I enlisted after that.
Very, very, very interesting. It's really difficult to listen to you and not see or hear how spiritual you are as a person. How has your spirituality, and I'm struggling to separate it with religion, but how has your spirituality helped you to become who you are today, and how would you encourage immigrants when it comes to looking at their faith and then who they want to become in life?
Again, you have to be true to what you are, to who you are. You don't go somewhere and then um, leave one thing that helps you um, thrive, that one thing that keeps you grounded when everything around you begins to crumble, begins to crash around you. Um, Believe it or not, every human being, we all have faith in something. You know, some people tell you they don't believe in God, but you know what? I believe in God and I believe in my laptop. I believe in, you have to have faith in something. And that's what you go back to when things are really hard. You know, for some people, it's religion, right? And some people, for me, I've always known my safe space when
Mhm.
things get really hard, when it's because of what I believe in and the assurances that I have from what I believe in, that I meditate on, I focus on those good things and really leave all the bad things behind me. Something happens, let it roll off your shoulder, move forward. All this. So my spirituality, is based on Christianity, not on. I'm not the most religious person you will see. I'm not all that religious. I'm a Christian, but I'm not super religious. I trust the word, I read the word, and I try to practice it. When I read something and I believe in it, I latch onto it, I have,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and it works for me. And when I'm going through very tough times, like very tough times, when you almost feel, one of the reasons why I don't think about giving up, ever consider things like that, because I have the faith that something good would happen.
Yes.
Sometimes when I got stuck on jobs and my friends told me, "Are you okay?" And they try to help me or give me something. I'm telling them that's not it. That's not it. Like was like, "But something good will happen, though." And like, "How are you so sure?" I said,
Yeah.
"I know.
Yeah.
I can feel it. I know it will happen. I'm convinced it will. I just have to be patient.
Staying
I have to be patient.
optimistic.
Yeah, I'll be patient, and I just, so uh, I think for me, it works for me that way. And then I think people have to find that too. You know, it might be your spouse. It might be something that means a lot to you, and leverage that. Use that to project, positive mental attitude. Put yourself in a safe space. Find a positive energy. Always put yourself around positive energy, right? Not if something is bad for you, it won't help you get away from it. Associate with the right kind of people. You can't win a battle all by yourself. You need
Yes.
people around you.
Yes.
Yes, um, and that's one thing I learned quickly, that I can't achieve anything by myself. I need help. And it's one of the reasons why it bothers me if I don't think I'm doing things to help other people, because I didn't get this far by myself. A lot of people help me one way or the other.
Yes.
Same thing here. Be willing, be open. Uh, and again, I'll say it again, challenges
As opposed to
makes
make
our
you and
life,
not make you.
yes. The challenges you face will make your life meaningful. It only adds flavor to your life, and embrace it.
Deji,
Embrace your challenges, rather.
what is the one question you were hoping I would ask you?
You're very good. You covered up. I wasn't thinking about it. Um, let's see. Actually, I think you covered most questions that you usually ask me. Or well, maybe I'm not sure if you're aware, if you know about my nonprofit,
Yes, I
because
was
that's
not aware of your
usually
nonprofit.
okay. Because I know they usually a lot of times I get asked about that. Hey, what's a nonprofit? What does it do? And things like that.
Okay.
So,
Tell us briefly about your nonprofit now that you brought it up.
thanks, Martin. So, my nonprofit is called Solani. Was established in January of 2021, and what we do really is in three folds. Number one, we provide scholarships to international students studying in the United States, struggling
Mm-hmm.
to pay tuition.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, third and fourth year medical students uh, with uh, with the plan to specialize in oncology and geriatric medicine upon graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, public health missions worldwide in developing countries that need, not only developing countries, even here locally within the United States, for poor local, poor neighborhoods and locations that need public health. We haven't really kicked off on the public health missions, but as a replacement for that, I'm going uh, on trips for now, with my church, and do some wonderful mission trips, and so that's going on right now as to fill in for that board. Primarily, those two forms of scholarships are what we try to focus on. And in case if people don't know, all sales, all proceeds from underground, right, uh,
Mm-hmm.
are used to provide scholarships. 100% of proceeds from scholarship from the book sales go into our scholarship fund. So,
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Dr. Ayod, one more question. If I ask you about your mission, it's going to be such an obvious question. So I'm going to ask a very an obvious question. Sitting down and thinking about what your life has manifested to become so far. If you're in a room with 100 immigrants, maybe more, what is the one lesson you would want them to take home?
to never doubt themselves or settle for less.
Thank you.
Um, yes, irrespective of where they come from, their experiences, where they were born and raised, if you conceive it, you can manifest it.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Dr. Deji Ayode, thank you so much. We appreciate you so very much. We appreciate your time. You've been fantastic. This was so much fun. I think we should do it again.
I enjoyed my time here too. Thanks so much.
All right, wonderful.
Absolutely. I'll be honored to join you again and have another beautiful session.
Excellent, excellent.